We really have to humble ourselves, our Americans. We see our great states, our great nation, our great people, our great land, and even amongst the tension and the treason of the trials of the government, even officials that put other countries first, from open borders to corruption of China, of integration of businesses, selling information of systems, all the way from selling and giving money to Iran, Sullivan did, for gas and oil, and cutting down our oil wells, and controlling the people with the vaccines. And Obama knew with Fauci early on about the vaccine and the problem. That's why they moved it from one lab in America early on to Wuhan lab and gave money. And they made those vaccinations, and many, many people told them they didn't have enough information and statistics to use them. And they made $100 billion on those vaccinations for the people. Did I hear Kamala or anybody say anything about them? They should be taken in mediation. Pfizer and the 20 billionaires. I think it's 20 billionaires that became billionaires that worked for Pfizer. And many people have died. Many people have lost their jobs. Many people lost their homes. This is very serious. Then we have this world control of the Economic Forum, which I hope is going to get better because Klaus is stepping down, and they realize the World Economic Forum, their enemy is greater now. They have an extra enemy. And you know who that extra enemy is? Is Iran, is fueled with China and Russia. But we know there are, in the World Economic Forum, people that sit at the table that are from all those countries. But you know, when there's big business that's fraudulent and I'll say evil, just like President Trump said, and President Reagan about the communists, you could turn your head. You could look them straight in the eye, and you know that they're not good by their actions. Just what they did, and I'll give an example. Our beautiful India, they've come up so fast. They have the most billionaires in the last 2 years. And they went in the BRICS with China and all the others, and then China tried to get through the borders. Is this okay if I do my podcast? So I wanted to tell you that. So here they were pals, China, India, right there, and the BRICS all coming together. But then they tried to get through the borders, so China had to protect their borders. This is very serious. I could go on. And China's using Honduras. They're giving money and trying to enhance them with money and education. But we know about money. Money has inflation. And they did the investment not with Bitcoin. They did the investment with their dollars. Ask yourself, what dollar does Honduras have? Do they go by a certain coin? Look it up. Or do they go by the United States dollar? In 5 or 10 years, their contract is going to be obsolete. Not there's an addendum that they don't have to pay over for interest or from inflation, that they could decrease their payments. This is very, very serious. They got them around the neck. And you know where Honduras is? It's right below Mexico. And see, brothers and sisters, today is that one subject relates to all subjects, so important, because it's a geopolitical power. So whether it's food systems, whether it's manufacturing, whether it's pharmaceuticals, whether it's what they teach at the children's school and universities, because the geopolitical powers want to come into our country. This is very serious, and I have to, it's my responsibility as a specialist, a geopolitical specialist. And I remember years ago I tried to get jobs with globalization. I always applied because I understood it. But I was on the blacklist and red list because I was conservative. And I shouldn't have ever gotten on that list because I did 20 years of philanthropy service with all different types of people. There were Jewish, there were Chinese, and they're all nationalities. There were Hindu, there were Christian, Catholic, and even pagans in a very sophisticated area of San Marino and Pasadena. And I delivered. But they didn't choose me because I was conservative. In California, they wanted all the conservatives out. And that's what they sold America. They sold her. That's where the elite communists are, Soros. I remember when I got out of my internship, someone gave me his number. Lisa, call him, because I know about contracting too, because of the contracting family. I want you to call him because they knew I needed a job. So I called him, but I didn't get it. So God had me keep on learning and teaching myself on what globalization and big business is, and I delivered on big business and how to deliver on big business in a country. And that's when they took my ideas in 2016 when Trump got in. And it's proven by the fact of my article and all my writing. So what I'm trying to say is, I'm trying to see, I have hindsight. And that's why it's my responsibility to tell you the history. I have hindsight that our present Democratic Party cannot take care of our country properly. And how do you think that they're going to take care of our country properly when they had open borders and all these problems, because they don't understand geopolitical treachery? There's geopolitical power, geopolitical economy, geopolitical technology, geopolitical war, geopolitical sociologic ideas, geopolitical information systems, not only technology, but information systems. Because that could be two things. They can control our technology, plus they want to steal information. Geopolitical military. Geopolitical power means they want control of the ocean and the skies. It's in my second book. Look it up, A Rise to God's Truth. I talk about it, about China. It's time to go and start sitting down at the table of contemplation and seeing that Kamala does not understand anything about international business, proven by the fact that she kept the borders open. Is that true? Is that true that she was responsible for the borders? And anyways, these beautiful immigrants, they were forced here, and 1 out of every 4 are abused in human trafficking. And then it becomes genogram. And she should have, she wanted the immigrants to come in, she should have made business transactions with billionaires that are part of those countries that they would help pay for the immigrants and do business. But then, as you know, you saw, I showed you many times and told you many times, those specific people that came in were used for specific things. The criminals, you saw them, they were rolling with suitcases from China. Those were the specialists that are controlling all the things in different offices, because I told you they're setting up offices in different states. It's in my podcast. I show you the pictures. And then they might even be hooked up with some of the EMFs and drones, because there's a lot of low-level drones that cannot be controlled and monitored. There's handheld drones. There's drones that you put from house to house. There's biowarfare drones. There's very serious. I know, I have biowarfare, and I've witnessed in the podcast Business News in New York wants to interview me specifically about my biowarfare, because I send pictures of my body that I've had biowarfare for many years, and I have pictures. It's a fact. I was in the medical business for 20 years, so I knew it wasn't a rash, and I went to 4 doctors. But because of my work, for over the years, they knew what I was going to do to help guard America, help empower the leaders in specific ideas, whether it's military, foods, science, education. And it's proven by the fact of my writing. And I'm telling you, the reason why I beg you is that now I can see I have to look at my pattern, correct? I have to look where I'm failing and where I need to do better, correct? So I need to tell you that the things that I wrote in the past has come true. So I'm telling you, our present Democratic Party, elite communist, doesn't have the mentality or expertise or even critical thought to be able to handle the new America in a geopolitical world. They opened borders, I'll repeat, and they didn't take care of the immigrants. They're using the immigrants for many reasons. We know they want vote, or they want to use them for cheap labor, and they abuse the poor things. I know, I worked I worked for 3 years. I worked with women and men coming from prison in the streets. And then over many years, over 20 years, I worked with different areas to develop monies at all different levels to give people like that. You can look at my list. So I know. So we need to come to get my list of philanthropy. So we need to, and so I've learned compassion. So they don't have compassion. These politicians, the Democrats, they don't have compassion of doing it right, of the immigrants. That's a lot. 1 out of every 4, and then there's a Democrat. And then they owe money for years, and they have to give their bodies away, and they have to do very evil things and crimes. It's not good. And there's plenty of money, and I'll repeat, of billionaires from other countries that don't take care of their people, and they can help with the people that are already in here. Because I don't want all the immigrants to leave. I really don't. But there has to be laws and rules for those countries that those immigrants came from right away, that's be taxed. Otherwise, they do have to think about what changes we have to make, correct? Because then you're just going to keep on doing worse and worse and worse, because there's criminals now. There's more criminals. And I'll tell you, I told you my chart. You don't know the chart that I wrote in 1 page. I proved in 1 page that they can't take care of our America. Kamala and the Democratic parties. They didn't, in the gas, I'll repeat, they stopped the gas. And they gave money, Sullivan, I'll repeat, gave money to Iran to oil, to mine the oil, and that's how they bought the tools for the war in Hamas. And then Hezbollah now has Iranian money. They want to get us. They said this truly from their mouths. And it's part of their corrupted Quran, because it was changed. The word for change. There's a question. If you don't believe it, when he was writing, one of the scribes, because I know I'm like a scribe. I am a scribe. Okay, one of the jobs I've been a scribe, my writings. But when he changed the words, when he tried to change, when he wrote down the words that were said. The scribe for the Muhammad, they killed him because Muhammad wanted him to change the words, and a lot of them were violent. And as I said, that's why God of Abraham said that if anybody changed 1 dot and 1 letter of any of these books, there's going to be a future judgment for them. And I know, because I remember when I wrote my first book, Arnie to Give to the World, it was just a very thin book. And the priests believed me. Maybe not all priests, but this priest did, because they saw what we did when we were in Italy, and they saw Jesus come, the Spirit of God. They saw, so they believed me. They believed me. And they said, Lisa, don't change any of those words. Don't add on. That's why it's so many additions, because I built on the things what to do. So my first book is only like 100 pages or something, and it needs to be corrected. It's a very thin one. I need to put it back on Amazon. But I've been running for my life, practically. And they do a lot of biowarfare, and they do a lot of things against me. I need help. So, but I go and I keep on going. That's why I do a lot of speaking, a lot less than writing, because they try to hold me back. So I have to speak it out, because it needs to get out right away. So everything is at hand now, brothers and sisters. We need all to work together right away. We only have a few months left to vote in Trump and vote in integrity, vote in freedom, vote in knowing how to take care of our country by the facts of his past history. And inflation is at the highest. Inflation is at the highest because we don't have exchange of business. So the only way we get exchange of business is we need to work together with all these leaders of billionaires. And I asked Floyd, I asked Think, BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard to come together and make a negotiation with America under President Trump, and that's what they're doing. I heard, is that true? I heard that he might be on President Trump's team because they own much of the real estate in the loans, and they own 40% of real estate internationally. Did you know that? They own 40% of it, all real estate internationally. So we need to come together. So why do you think that they do not have the mentality or the heart of compassion? They put all the homeless on the street. They put all the people, they lost all their homes. Many people lost their jobs. They're not doing anything about making a mediation that the Pfizer with the vaccination needs to repay back the people. Some states are taking them to court. This is very, very serious. We need to come together. So they don't have the mentality. And another thing, I'm a geopolitical specialist, and I told you about the war. And I have videos on this and writing about where China is placed. And we need to watch and have friends and allies together, because China's in the center. Then there's Iran, there's Iraq, there's Afghanistan, and then there's Saudi Arabia, and below there's India, and there's Africa, and then across the way is Brazil. Then above Brazil is Honduras, Mexico, United States, and then Canada, and then across the Arctic is Russia, and then we come down and there's Europe and Finland and Swiss areas on the border there by Russia, and then we come down right between Russia and then China border, and then across east is Taiwan. Now look at that. And then from Taiwan is the Black Islands and Australia, Hawaii. So they're doing serious special courses and practices with our magnificent boat that no one has, that could go from one ocean to the next the fastest. And then also it has like an airplane delivery where they could deliver all their warrior jets. We have that. And so they did that practice in Hawaii, and they did it on 60 Minutes. And I've been begging to do this all along. And I told them to make small submarines to always monitor a whole ocean area, and they did. And they used it for hurricane. I told them to fix that submarine because we only have a few big submarines. And I learned a little about it because my nephew, he was the head of the submarines. But I heard, but I'm sure we have more, but the big top ones, the huge ones, we only have a few. But they're made small ones to work with Iran, to work with hurricane. They're going to have to protect our borders, and constantly we need to have a policeman constantly protecting our borders and watching. And that's why we do need to make the dome, and we're watching from the dome area that I drew. Even though it's just a basic, it could help them in some ways for the specialists, experts, the scientists that make these military tools. But I know that it has to be done. And I know that the work that I did could empower them and help them, give ideas to inspire them, because they're pure ideas from the training of philosophical thinking and also science, because I'm taking a lot of science. And also for science of philosophy, also in relationship to all things. Because scientists don't have to take philosophy, they don't take ethics before they do their studies, and they should. And it will develop them to get pure thoughts that relate to humanity and all things. And that's what our politicians don't understand. Kamala, she doesn't know what the best is for our country. And it showed by the fact when she had her open borders. And so how could she and the Democratic Party protect our country when they brought us in the greatest treacherous danger having open borders? There's ISIS, there's China, there's African young African beautiful men and beautiful Chinese men. They're all beautiful people. We don't know for sure, but we know that they're in now. We know that there's things set up because Russia is, I'll repeat it, at the tip of South Africa, teaching them how to do the missiles and training them. Now, come on, brothers and sisters. So how do you think she can take care of our country? And this is my responsibility to tell you as a specialist. It's a very, very serious thing. She's protected. She drives around in her locked car and then she goes behind the wall. She doesn't know anything about these things, proven by the fact by having open borders. Because there's geopolitical powers, everyone came through. So she cannot protect her country. And because she's the one that has to deliver. If she was a leader, even a vice president leader, it didn't show. Even though I know she has to go by all the votes, correct? But she didn't even deliver a message to try to protect the people, correct? When she was, I don't even want to say vice president because she wasn't. She didn't even do anything to try to protect the people. Correct? She never went to the border, correct? I never went to the border, but I studied the border day and night about it and delivered all information. And then I was in trouble for it and had much violence because I spoke up about it. So my body wasn't there, but my heart and my work for many years was there and is there. Even in 2016, when I wrote my first book, I said there was going to be, I saw drugs because I pray also. But it's common sense. Even if you don't pray, you know that there's delivering the drugs somewhere. I saw a big drug bust. And they found more drugs in the California area of the area of Mexico and California. In the one drug bust in one time than all the states put together for the whole year. Are you listening? This is very serious, and we are so grateful. And I've been pushing because I've been giving, I don't know if Elon Musk got the list, but I gave many lists of things what needed to be done. And one of the things to make sure that we get those cartels, whether we have to negotiate with them and get them, because I believe some of them do not want to continue what they do. And they have caught two of the Sinaloa cartels. You saw that, and I kept on pushing. And I knew, because it's common sense. People know who they are, and they know where they are, and they know where those companies are for the fentanyl thing. This is very serious. We're all responsible, and I'm so grateful that they did this, and they found those two cartel leaders. And it's hard on those people that are in the cartels and are criminals. Most of them are forced in it from young age. And they can help us negotiate to find where the fentanyl is, and also with working with China. And we need to delete and obsolete all those fentanyl companies that they transfer the drugs and the drug pharmaceuticals that make them. And we need to get FBI and undercover agents in areas where they make it in China. And did you see what they did? I told you again, because this is Lisa Luciard News from the desk of Lisa Luciard. I asked I want all companies that are in America that are hooked up with China, the CCP, they have to be checked. Their paperwork has to be checked. Their people have to be checked. And guess what? 60 Minutes showed that was 5 months ago, and I'm just saying how it's important it is. And I said 5 months ago, I said way before 5 months ago, that those poor people, poor companies, there's 5 of them that were raided. That's terrible. A lot of those companies, those people started as a legacy in the beginning. How would you like to lose all your legacy? Kamala, how would you like to lose all your brain, all the brain that you have, of the brain that you believe that you have from your law school, on your protocol, your limitation of just your law school, because you don't know geopolitical politics? How would you like if they took your certificate from your law school and took all the information out of your brain, and then you were put to the side? That's what they did to our state, our companies. That's what they've done to the hardworking people, because in California, a lot of those California people's owned by Mexican people. Very, very lovely Mexican people. Did you know that? And they own Wells Fargo Bank, a lot of them. Do you know? With Spain, do you know that they wanted to buy over California because they felt that they owned it, was part of their country. But because there's a geopolitical power, they couldn't. They were trying to get it. But they kept California strong and areas strong. They worked very hard. They don't want all their whole legacy to go to death. I don't want to say hell. That's just about what it is on earth. This is very, very serious. Think about it. Then we have the military, the high-powered military, on what to do with the negotiations of the direction of what to do, where to place everything, and how would she be able to direct and say yes or no about a military direction, even though we are so blessed that things are protected now. But remember, the president they could veto things. They could have the power to say that they want this and that and this, correct? Over the military, correct? Is that right? Look it up. And I would be afraid that they might try to make a direction. I'm not afraid of her, and I'm not afraid of them. I'm in great trepidation of my heart and soul and my brain and my responsibility to make sure to say, what if they make a direction to the military that's wrong, that's weak, that doesn't protect our country, correct? We're so blessed that the military is protecting our country now, except under Biden, we know that they went in Afghanistan terribly, brothers and sisters. And then they knew that they saw that they were weak. That's why Russia started. And then Hamas. Come on, brothers and sisters, let's get going here. And I felt so terrible. Do you know that I was doing a lot of different work because I'm independent, and I had to stop all my personal work, all my work, and so that I dropped all my side work because I'm independent, and I just concentrated on just America. Did you know that? With Afghanistan, because I'm an empath and I'm a humanitarian. And do you know how many children and women were abused and forced of young children, marriage, and men taken all their dignity away from them when those ISIS came through in Afghanistan, and how many years we protected Afghanistan, and how many people died, our military, 13, and then there's people still there, and then we're giving money to Afghanistan every day. Look that up. Look that up. And they try to pacify them. They did it wrong. And there's billions of dollars, 87 billion. Look it up. Look up the number that they left of the military tools. They should have taken all the military tools first and get all the people first. But no, they did everything backwards, just like President Trump said. I'm not trying to say I'm a know-it-all, but I am a political analyst, politician, a geopolitical specialist, but I have common sense from critical thinking of my education. And I use prayer, like when President Washington got on his knees to protect our America, 1776. This is serious now, brothers and sisters. How do you think that they can protect us now when the way they handled Afghanistan and the military? Did they take the orders from the military, or did Biden give the orders to the military? Look it up. And we're still paying money to Afghanistan. And then there's another serious thing. I believe that we need to protect your kin in the right way. And we need to, and I said early on that Putin would negotiate. And he wanted to negotiate, but they didn't want to negotiate. He wanted to negotiate. They didn't want to negotiate. And they need to make sure they get all those military tools back in Ukraine, and they didn't watch where all the money went. But we need to protect Ukraine because Russia wants to come in to get us also. There needs to be negotiations right away. So ask yourself, do you think that the present Democratic Party under the lead communist, whether she meant it or not, Kamala and Biden and those directors and leaders, do you think that they could protect us from geopolitical powers in our economy and our safety of our children and our future? Do you think they can? What do you think? They didn't protect us from Afghanistan. They didn't protect us from Russia. They don't know. They couldn't negotiate. They negotiate with Russia and Ukraine, and he wants to negotiate. They didn't negotiate with Hamas because they don't respect them. They didn't negotiate with Gates yet with the foods. They didn't negotiate with the pharmaceutical companies to do mediation, to give money back to. They could be giving money to the families. Maybe that's how they can get money for the homeless, to build the homeless up again, people that lost their houses because of the lockdowns. They did those lockdowns and they shouldn't. And I wrote papers to prove that the lockdown in California, short little paper, that the statistics shows that it was mostly elderly, 75 and older. Those 97% died. And 78 older, 98% died. There's only a small percentage, and no children died in the hospital, no little babies. There was a few children. The ones that died and got sick are the ones that took the vaccinations. Because remember, I was in the business for 20 years with pre-med. Also, I took also pre-med, not just the PA. And then I had friends, and everyone knows, you could ask people that know me. I had friends that were scientists. They used to come to my house. I knew the man that, and I can't name his name, that wrote the book with the black hole. And he was right by my side. He would come to the house, and I was his friend in my house, and talk about things to think. Also, another man was a scientist too. And these were my friend and mentors. And so another scientist, he talked all about foods, and I learned so much from him. I can't name his name because I'm not authorized. He's much older. He passed away, and the other one's younger. He's actually from France, but he's Italian. And so those two men alone I learned from. And then, as I told you, I learned from the Jorgensen Steel Company. Just few sentences. He taught me about life. You know how that is. When you stand in front of a magnificent man or woman, in one sentence they can teach you the whole thing about a problem, how to solve it. But remember, I do pray. I do pray. And I'm a critical thinker. So all of us need to pray because we are a Judeo-Christian nation. We cannot ever go against it. We cannot ever, otherwise we will be destroyed. So be careful. So I want to say I took an oath when I had my divinity school. I had to take an oath to do the best I could. And I took an oath for the job as a geopolitical specialist and guard and help a political analyst for when I was told years ago, even when I was taking my BA, the Spirit of the Lord told me that you're going to do a project, but I can't tell you what's going on. You need to stay on task. and concentrate on me and not on the world. And I did that. I wasn't perfect, but I did that. I kept on teaching myself. And this is not something I just started. I used to go to the grotto with my mom when I was 8 years old. I'm responsible. I'm trying to convince you. I'm not trying to I'm no better than anyone else. Actually, I failed in a lot of ways because I couldn't get people to believe and show that they should have voted President Trump the second time. But he did win. They cheated the vote. And then after all these years, I kept on telling them, we need to do this, that, and they didn't listen. But I kept on going. So the thing is that when we put our hand on things of life in America, when we do our work to protect our America, and when God has given you of your hands to put on the work that you've been supposed to do, whether it's the work you know how, whether the works you hope to have, whether it's the gifts that God has for you up in heaven that he wants to give you still, when you put your hand on that work, it's the hand on the Bible, actually. When President Trump put his hand on the Bible to give an oath that he is going to take care of America under the power and strength in God we trust. And underneath the Bible is the heart of God. And we are supposed to be a reflection of the precepts and the beauties in the Judeo-Christian ethics and the forgiveness and the tenderness and the compassion and the restoration. That's what the Bible is about. It's a story about humanity and God's divine nature of life, even if you don't believe in God. And then underneath that is God's heart, the Spirit of God's heart in you that's going to heal America and going to restore America in your heart. He lives in, with, and through. And even though if you don't believe he's a sovereign God, everyone knows that. Look what he's done for Gates, which I pray for every day. And if anybody knows him, ask him. I'm right there by his side. He has all that property, and he cannot do depopulation, and he cannot make synthetic food. We are together, and we are going to come together and work together. This is a Judeo-Christian nation. And Judeo-Christian nation is actually, when you look it up, the Jews is from the Jews is a culture. It's not a religion. It's a cultural relationship between God and his people by the fact of history and experience that came true. That how we should live as better people with the Decalogue, which is the Ten Commandments. They called it the Decalogue. Which, how people should live, because we're born sinners. We're not perfect. We're incomplete beings. It's called in the philosophical writings, if you don't believe the Bible. We're incomplete beings that need to be completed. And God wants to do that through you, the divine nature of life. But we have to assess when we do have a responsibility. Am I doing the right thing for the people? Not for my ideological purposes and motives. And that's what the Democrat elite communists did. When they chose all those ideas. Why would they? It doesn't make sense. Just like President Trump said, or other people, a kindergarten knew what to do to get out of Afghanistan in a different way. Why would they shut down the oil? Why would they not even come to work with the pharmaceutical companies to do mediation? Why would they allow transgender in the schools and woke system? The children, they can't have all that heavy stuff while they're trying to study. Why would they allow that? And it doesn't make sense. It shows their mentality is not correct. It's not high enough. It's called in life, it's called in God, it's called God Most High. People know that. It's called the preeminent. Before Christ came, it's called the preeminent. And the preeminent is the God Most High. And that's the highest thoughts, the highest ideas. And that's what we need, the highest ideas for America. And when people try to act like they've taken all your things, they can't take all your things. Because, you know why? Because you have to walk in the mud, in the dirt, in things that need to be corrected to help. And sometimes it takes that to do that. Sometimes we have to walk through the mud, the dirt, and we have to give more than we expected to give, and we have to give without measure. And that's what the billionaires need to do. And that's what even the people need to do that don't have money. That don't have money or resources, they need to give without measure, and that is to be upright and righteous. So the way we're going to heal America and restore America is to love God with all our heart and soul, because when we love God with all our heart and soul, like President Lincoln and President Washington on his knees, they trusted in God, not in himself. That's why he prayed to him. Don't you get it? That's why George Washington prayed to God, because he knew he couldn't do it on his own ideas. He even had a vision of Mary. Did you know that? Look it up. He has a prayer written down also about Jesus' names. We can't get away, just like our beautiful Saudi Arabia. And I've always adored Saudi Arabia. I always wanted to get a job there. My nephew did. He worked as a nuclear scientist. And so they're not going to change their religion to Hindu. They're Islam. There's a lot of them are Islamic, and many Christians. I know. In Dubai, I know, because I do business with them. I learn a lot about luxury properties. I think that they like me, they respect me, and so they want me to show their information. Internationally, I've worked with many different countries, Italy, and even China. Even China, I have different connections with China through Marble. So I'm not just saying in my little box, even though you might think, no, I'm all over. I'm all over. Because I understand commodities and sailing. We really need to work together right away. We really need to work together. So we need to get out of our box, of our ideological constraints, and put America first. And that's loving God with all our heart and soul, because God created you and he knows what you are, and he has many gifts, and he can do restoration and miracle in you. He can do miracle, and he has done miracle already. I see it's all over the social media. Everyone's saying what's wrong with America, that they want to correct it. From our borders to helping the immigrants, to helping the immigrants that were forced in here. That they're listening now about the billionaires of the immigrants. They need to bring in money and business to trade together. Wouldn't that be wonderful? There's enough land around America, correct? They can do businesses for them. And then to bring back and find out where all the criminals are, and how beautiful they did just in this matter of time. They've got those. Out of all these years, they finally got the two head guys in Sonora. One of them is 76-year-old. I would be willing to go and do prayers with them in prison, because I worked with women and women that came prison in the streets for 3 years. But I work with men that I know they've done many, many severe things that I can't say, because I was their confidant. So we need to come together and love, and to love your neighbor as yourself, and that's by delivering compassion and forgiveness. God bless you. This is Lisa Luciarden. We need to vote freedom. We need to vote those who have the highest information and heart to understand the people, to protect them and give them a future. And we need to put our children first. By putting our children first is protecting their nation. But we can't feed the children. We can't put evil upon good. That's what God is not going to allow. So if we continue allowing the elite communist Democrat to do secondary or below life transactions like they did with the borders, Afghanistan, the oil, the World Health Control, the World Economic Control, the negotiations with Russia and Hurricane, and also the protesters, that they did not put them and incarcerate them. Why didn't they incarcerate the protesters that destroyed all the areas of protesting, and they put all the people in jail January 6th? All those people need to be released from January 6th out. And it's proven by the fact that even Pelosi, correct? They caught it, that she was responsible for that. President Trump asked, she wanted the military, they asked to get extra police force, but they didn't get them. And then, did you know those buses, they were painted over with FBI buses, painted over, and the people that were on the buses were not Trump supporters. And the people that started the trouble, that killed that girl, it was an unidentified group person. It wasn't a Trump supporter. And the ones that broke the window and started the fuss and started the catalyst to get everybody excited, those were unidentified people. They weren't Trump supporters. All Trump supporters need to be released right away. I believe Trump did not have that. He did not control that. He did not promote that. He asked to have people come in, but they didn't listen. He did not promote that. That is not, when you look in a law case, you look at the past of, like, the person that is the defendant, like they're trying to make President Trump the defendant because the plaintiff is the evil of the Democrat elite communists want to bring him down, that he's responsible for January 6th. You look at the defendant's history. He doesn't have any history. He doesn't do business like that. He just says it right like it is, right in the forward, just like he paid all his loans off and made New York one of the greatest states in the world with all his jobs and money. Now it's to hell. It needs to be cleaned up. And I pray that we can get back there and clean it up. Everything he has face value. He doesn't hide things. It's not his taste of things. You always look at what they do in the past when you look at the defendant or the plaintiff. Now we need to come together. So you know who the plaintiff is now and the defendant? We are the plaintiff, America, okay? The American people are the plaintiff to take to court the atrocities of the elite communist Democratic Party and secret elite communist world control in our own country and our own leaders in government that did treason against us. We as a people have our own courtroom. So we need to win this by bringing justice, and we're responsible. And that's by voting in freedom, voting in love, voting in compassion, voting in truth, in justice for our people, and having strategies that are proven by the fact of our past work and our present, and just strategies that are tactics and work, knowing how to run a country. Thank you so much. God bless you. We could do this. LisaLuciaArden.com or RiseToGod'sTruth.com. God bless you, America. We are working together. We're working together to bring America's freedom. We need to vote in freedom and justice in each city, each nation. God bless you. Thank you so much for your time. Vote in President Trump and vote in America. When you vote President Trump, you vote America people. Thank you. God bless you.